This is I, Tantus Naravan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, and welcome. It is time to continue our discussion on D20 Modern, the modern take on 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons. Let's continue where we left off in combat with vehicles. Let's start by talking about vehicle movement. Now, vehicles are about getting from point A to point B. The type of vehicle you can have is depend on what your character likes and how much money they have to spend or how much wealth they have, unfortunately, to afford a vehicle. But once you have a vehicle, normally you're just not going to worry about skill checks. Things could come up for it, and you might have to roll. But on a traditional day, nah, you just drive it from point A to point B. Then, if you do get into a circumstance where you need it, I'm going to go over the rules for it. Well, I'm going to let you know now, these rules are mainly for ground-based vehicles. Things like cars. Certain other types of ground-based vehicles, boats, planes, they can be adapted for that. But you're going to have to do that. Just, know that there will be a little bit of tweaking to what I'm going to talk about. So let's talk about what your role you're going to take in the vehicle you're going to be traveling in. Because there's 4 main roles you might take. Driver. This is the one controlling the vehicle. Most of the time, controlling a vehicle is going to be at least a move action, if not more. The player, again, is going to be in control of it and can take their move action, have the rest of the turn to take whatever actions they want. But they can only have one drive at a time, traditionally. There's the co-pilot. Co-pilot is someone that can assist the driver. They are able to take the aid another action to assist their driver friend, as long as they either have an idea of what's going out in the road in front of them, or can see it. They have to have an idea of what's going on to offer advice to drive. They're going to have to be in a position where they're going to get that. And again, this is going to be a move action. Vehicle can only have one co-pilot. Gunners. If your vehicle has some kind of weapon not controlled by the driver, then you might have ones that are controlled by gunners around your vehicle. Then you're going to have people that are specifically in charge of those guns, and that's what they're going to be firing and using on their turns. You can have as many gunners as you have positions for them, so the vehicle will actually tell you how many gunnery positions it has open to know how many gunners you need. Passengers is the last one. Passengers don't really do anything to help operate the vehicle. They can do stuff within the vehicle, but as long as they're there, they are not helping with the general operation of it. They're just passengers. Now next, we have to talk about the next important thing, scale. There are 2 types of scale that your vehicle might be acting on. First is character scale. If I have vehicles and people on foot, I'm in character scale. I'm going to have to worry about that because the people on foot are going to be moving at a certain scale. 5-foot squares are going to represent 5 feet on the map for this one. And you're going to have your vehicles, which are going to have their own maneuverability, and your players both on the board. Vehicles are more than likely going to take up more than 1 square. Most of them are pretty big, depending on the size of them. And you're going to control them from the rear. You're going to use that to determine their movement when you're moving around this scale. Now the other one is chase scale. Chase scale, a square on the grid is 50 feet. Now granted, this means there are points and times where you could have big enough vehicles that could take up multiple squares, or, if they're small enough, more than 1 vehicle in the same square. It can happen. Now, as I said, your vehicle's going to have a size. Chart in the book that's going to talk about your size modifier. Your vehicle's size modifier will apply to its initiative, its maneuverability, and its defense. So the bigger the vehicle, the more of a penalty it gets to all of these. Now, it gives examples of the sizes of these vehicles and what kind of vehicle it is in the book. Now, it's important to your vehicle to have facing. Facing is actually really important because you want to know where your front is. That's the direction you're driving. You want to know where your reverse is, your left and your right. You're only driving forward in a vehicle. So yeah, facing is critically important. The same can be said for weapons. Whatever side a weapon is mounted on, that's the side it's firing at. That's the side it's actually accessible to. Granted, there are exceptions to this of turrets. Partial turrets, though, will only affect 3 of these sides. The turret will tell you what 3 sides it applies to, but that means you can fire in those 3 areas. Full turret, all around you. Your vehicle will determine, it will tell you where these weapons will be aiming, what kind, if they've got a turret or not, so what sides, what facing these will threaten. So you just have to remember this facing of your vehicle. It is critically important to how it operates. Now, getting into a vehicle is a move action, and starting a vehicle is a move action. Important to think about. Now, initiative in a vehicle is handled in one of two ways. First off is normal. We handle it like normal initiative. Everybody rolls their own. Every person rolls their own. Everybody takes their own actions. Driver's going to drive. People's going to shoot. Whatever it is, all their own. The other way to handle it is each vehicle rolls initiative. Alternately, you could have each vehicle roll initiative. If this is the case, then each character within the vehicle will act at the same time. That's the other type of way it could be handled. Really, it's going to be more GM's prerogative. Now, there are 5 types of movement your vehicle can be traveling at. 5 speeds, I should really say. At the beginning of your round, you choose what speed you want to travel at. But you can only change your speed from the previous round by 1 category up and down the list. So that means if I'm at category A, for example, I could move up to category B, but not to C, only 1 up. Or if I'm at C, I can move down to B, up to D. Now let's talk about these. First off is stationary. You're not moving. In a vehicle, it's still. Simple as that. Alley speed. You're at walking speed. You're traveling like what a person that's running would travel at. That's as fast as you're going. So your running friend over there can keep up with your vehicle at alley speed. This is really for maneuverability, for going through tight spaces, those sort of circumstances. Street speeds up to 35 miles per hour. If you're driving on the streets, this is going to be through most towns and things. You're going to go at street speeds. There's highway speeds. This is up to 80 miles per hour. So from 35 to 80 miles per hour, like just what you're traveling going. And all out, anything over than 80. Now there are a couple things you have to remember. Some vehicles can't get up that high. Whatever your maximum speed for your vehicle is, it might limit which ones you can go to. So that's going to be the first big limiting factor on this entire thing. It's also important to know what kind of squares are going to be. If you're traveling at street speed, that's 21 to 50 squares on the character level, or 3 to 5 on the... So think about that. Those are important to know, those numbers of squares you're going to be moving, especially if you're doing that in those certain scenes. That's street speed level. And now, traveling at those high speeds, they can have effects to you. Depending on how fast you're going, it can actually affect various rolls and skill checks that you're making, including driving-based skill checks when you're in the vehicle. Now there's a chart that talks about the speeds and what kind of checks it would, and what kind of difficulties increases it would be. But just know that this counts towards every player in the car, each character within the car, and applies to their skill checks, attacks, and to any driving related checks you'd have. So the faster you go going, the harder the maneuverability it is. So that's it for today. I introduced you to vehicles. I talked about movement of vehicles, primarily talking about the movement in combat, speeds of the movement, what it means to be traveling at those speeds, various other details that are important to know what it means to be traveling around in a vehicle in combat. Next time, I'm going to talk more about the actual art of driving it, including stunts that you might take in your vehicle. So if you have questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe to support the channel, the Empire, and the work I do. If you want to show some extra support, you can always check out my Patreon, link in the description below. But regardless, until the next time, I bid you farewell.